diamonds in the sunset. Now your time has come. A pretty yellow bird fly away.
All right, 6 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in order to prepare for the next interview. I was taken back to my childhood, Robin, and back in the days when photocopy machines were only existent in libraries. and the library that I would go to as a kid had, I remember the photocopies were negative. Like if you photocopied the encyclopedia, right? You would have all the black lettering would be white. Mm-hmm. On the page, right? It must have used a lot of toner.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know how they worked. I'm not really sure. But the reason wasn't about the copy machines. The reason is because part of the story of a book we're going to talk about right now talks about a young man who discovers the adults-only section of the library. And while I don't remember an adults-only section, I certainly found some adults-only books.
Yeah.
That definitely had my attention.
I bet they did.
It's an interesting time back then that we would even have libraries that had that kind of stuff, but we did. Cliff Ashpaugh is on the phone. He served 6 years in the U.S. Air Force. He worked on nuclear Minuteman silos in North Dakota. Wow, how cool is that? And he's obviously a very talented writer. He's written a book called Josh's Wall, based on some true life events. And I wonder if he went to that library adults-only section. So, and they're describing it in my notes as a novella, and I guess I didn't really know what a novella is. I guess that's a long short story or a short novel. So let's find out about it. Let's find out about the based on true life events part of this. The book again is called Josh's Wall. Cliff Ashpaugh, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, sir. Good morning, Cliff.
Hi, Larry. You're saying my name perfectly.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being on the air with us today. Where are you right now?
I'm in Southern California.
Oh.
Down there.
Well, thank you for getting up early.
Oh, yeah, it was rough.
So how did you become an author after serving in the Air Force, or have you always been an author? Was that just always part of you?
No, after I got out of the Air Force, I went back to college on the GI Bill, and I flunked my first attempt at freshman composition. The professor I had, the assignments were boring. I got a little creative. He didn't like my creativity, and I took the assignments, papers I wrote to another professor that said they looked great. So I took my F. It was too late to drop out, and the second professor, I passed with a B in that course, and he recommended I take a creative writing course. And I turned some of the stories into the college writing contest, won a first place award, which was kind of an up yours to the first professor.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I've been stuck on writing ever since.
Wow. Isn't it amazing? I mean, what you just said is so encouraging. We have a lot of authors who listen, and I mean they're at every level. We've got beginners, we've got very accomplished authors, but anybody who is at that point where somebody's telling them they're not good enough is going to love that story.
Yes, well, composition writing is quite different than fiction writing, but yeah, it was a good feeling.
Yeah, I bet. So the novella idea here to write a short story that's shorter than a novel, longer than a short story. I'm a little bit confused by what that even means. I don't have the book, just so you know. I don't want you to think that I have it in front of me. And usually we are speaking from the point of view, Robin and I, of having read at least part of the book, and we honestly haven't. So we'll have to pick your brain about it. So how far back does this go? And is this your story? Is this a story about yourself?
Well, I've used semi-autobiographical elements, such as my father. My departed father, I used him as basically the model for Josh's father. And there are certain elements. I had bully problems when I was a child, and my father's answer was just put me in karate, learn to defend myself.
Oh, wow. Did it work?
Not really, because there's always violence begets violence. There's always someone around that thinks they're better than you regardless.
Yeah.
And it just kind of escalated into more problems than it cured. It's not a Karate Kid story where he learns to fight, beats the bully, and everyone lives happily ever after. Actually, in this story, that's where the problems begin.
Okay, so what I know about this story is Joshua Crass, and he has an allergic reaction to penicillin. Is that where the story starts?
Yes, he's a 6-year-old boy. It's a frame story written by Josh as an adult to his son, who is 11 years old, and the son stays up all night reading the book, learning about his father.
Oh, wow.
And he's 6 years old. He suffers an adverse reaction to penicillin and goes into a coma, wakes up from the hospital with amnesia and anemia. And the story goes on from there. He goes, he doesn't know who his parents are. He sees these people. He doesn't know who they are, his brother. And he tries to discover who he was and who he is and who he's going to be.
It's very interesting, though, that you write that the only person he does remember is his nanny.
That's quite a twist in the story. If you haven't read it, I don't want to give that away, but it sets up for what's called an unreliable narration.
So the father-son relationship part of this is Josh? Hold on, it's Josh's father, or Josh is the father, but he's talking about himself. I'm a little bit confused here. The father-son relationship. If Josh doesn't remember his own father, he only remembers his nanny, then the relationship that we were talking about must be Josh as father talking to his 11-year-old son. Correct?
No, that's the beginning of the story.
Oh, okay.
And his son gets into reading his father's story, which is Josh. And it's related as to Josh's father and his mother and what he goes through in his quest.
Oh, wow. Did you go through any of that? I mean, did you have amnesia and
No, that was a bit of fiction, but I did suffer an adverse reaction to penicillin, and I went in to coma and woke up at the Children's Hospital in Los Angeles. But as far as an amnesia goes, that's just part of the fiction.
It's a fascinating subject, amnesia, isn't it? I mean, I don't know what it's like in real life. I don't know that I've known anybody that had serious amnesia. I don't know if it ever comes back. So how, you told us that the father in the book is based on your father. So when you say that, do you mean Josh's father, the one who is writing for Josh?
Yes, Josh's father. Josh wrote the story himself as an adult.
Oh yes, I'm getting confused here. So Josh is the father. So is that your father? Is that who when you said it was based on your father?
Josh's father was based on my father.
Oh, Josh's father. Okay.
When you talk about bullying, and then you talk about children to defend themselves, do you think that those children should suppress their emotions as they're defending themselves?
I don't quite understand what you mean by suppress their emotions, not show any kind of crying or something like that?
Yes, to not be crybabies. That they should just go ahead and defend themselves and then move forward instead of dwelling on the fact that this shouldn't have happened.
Well, I'm not too sure if the story of Josh's Wall is a model of what to do. I believe that you should go check every avenue possible other than violence to resolve a problem. And there's plenty of support groups. Bullying is big nowadays. It's a big issue. It's a big topic. And there are plenty of support groups out there. Schools are willing to help in that regard. It's definitely in the minds of the public and a big problem. right now.
When we as a country decide we want to defend ourselves, we will build things like missile silos, et cetera.
Yeah.
And obviously, the way a country defends itself is not the same philosophy as the way we as individuals should be defending ourselves. I love your point that we shouldn't resort to violence, but I think as a country, that it doesn't get much more violent than a missile coming at you from someplace, and hopefully we will only use those things in the name of defense.
Yeah, we're talking about neutral destruction there.
Yeah.
The whole idea was that we could destroy each other, so neither one of us would ever partake in it, based on fear.
Yeah. Make sure everybody's got the same big bullets so that nobody pulls the trigger.
Yeah, that was the basic concept.
Sometimes parents try to protect their children by not telling them the whole truth of an event that's happening or something on that nature. Do you think parents should be first and foremost in the forefront when it comes to discussing things with their children, or should they hide things?
I was a parent of 4 boys. I probably made every mistake imaginable on raising. It's not like, it'd be great. Each child is different. It'd be great if each child came with an operator's manual, but they don't.
So are you a dad?
Yes. I have 4 boys.
And how old are they right now, if you don't mind?
Oh, they're in their mid-30s.
Oh, okay. Okay, and did they go through the bullying thing that you were talking about you went through?
Yes, some of them did. I think a majority of children experience bullying in one form or another as they're growing up.
Yeah. We were talking the other day about how we deal with our life experiences when we've been the victim, and how I think it was Steve Jobs that was being referenced, and somebody was talking about how he would say connect the dots, because even though it was a hard time, when you connect the dots, it helps you understand how you got to where you are. And it's almost like the rags to riches biography with the kid who always had to do the chores, hated them, but now he loves the fact that he did them because it contributed to his character. But I've often thought about, what about the bully? What about the bully eventually has to grow up and look back on that too? There must be somebody in your memory, in your child's memories. I had one in my memory. Let me tell you a real quick story. I had a bully in my memory. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
In school, for no reason at all, would call me a name. For no reason at all. Absolutely no reason at all. And now 30, 40 years later, whatever it's been, I went on Facebook or something, and there was this website that you could go to for the alumni of the high school I went to. And I went to look at the names, and they had a list of those who had died. And he, the bully, was dead. And I'll be honest, I felt good. I was like, yes, I'm glad. I'm glad you dropped dead. I'm living my life. I'm doing, there's a saying that says, living well is my best revenge. You can be sure I'm living well. He's not even living.
Right.
Now, for all I know, the 7th grade bully might have turned out to be the pretty nice 20 and 30-year-old, as he got older. I don't know. Rob and I are pushing 60 right now, so just so you get an idea of where we are. But I probably wasn't very noble of me to be happy that he died, but I was.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're human.
Yeah. So if you're a bully, don't expect to be forgiven by me. There's no need for that. Did you stand up for other, like when you were a child and you witnessed somebody else being bullied? You had the karate skills. Did you step in for somebody else?
Yes, I did at times. As a matter of fact, there is one incident in the novella that Josh stands up for that was basically taken from my past. And of course the kid had a bigger brother that became the biggest, baddest bully, and that's the person Josh confronts at the end of the book. But yeah, the kid was saying stuff in class that the other students didn't agree with, and one student in particular bullied him for it, and I stepped in and stopped it.
Sometimes a person thinks the person that's being bullied is the victim, but sometimes the person that's doing the bullying is really the victim also, in a way. How can parents become more aware that their children are the bullies and try to help them?
There's just have to pay attention. I mean, life, we're busy with living life nowadays, and it's awful hard to pay close attention to the children. We got the job, the house, the meals, shopping, homework, everything else. Are they being exclusive? Do they continue inappropriate behavior even when they're being told to stop? Do they continue on, or are they too concerned with being popular?
Right.
Do they tease and demonstrate intolerance? I think the big picture is to talk to your children, not at them. Allow them to gain a little confidence in you so they can confide in you as what's happening in their lives.
Our guest is Cliff Ashpaugh, and he's written a book called Josh's Wall. It's described as a novella, and it sounds like a fascinating story. It sounds like you're exploring some of life's ups and downs, especially from the perspective of a young person. Is the book written for the young reader?
It's kind of a multi-generational read. It could be considered literary, but I think it's very popular among young readers as well. I've had several beta readers that were in their teens that just really thought the book was fantastic.
Oh, the book just came out. I went to Amazon. It says the release date was June 21st. This is a brand new book.
Yes, it got released early. A dozen years ago, I found an agent and a publisher and tried to publish an earlier carnation of this book. But the publisher kept putting the publishing date back 6 months, another 6 months, and then they went belly up. And I decided I didn't need that kind of frustration. I was never going to publish a novel because of that. And I started writing another novel. I got back to writing novels again. And I went back to school to pick up more on the craft and met a professor who I mentioned that book. He wanted to read it. And he told, after he read it, he said, hey, this has to get published. And I figured, well, who's going to publish a novella in this climate?
Yeah.
Turns out his wife was a publisher, and she specialized in novellas.
Oh, really? That's interesting. So
that's how this book came to be. Spout Hill Press is publishing it, and 180 degrees, totally different. Great experience. We were originally going to put the publication out in November. We were recommended to put it out in July because the heavy hitters get published in October, and they thought they wanted this book to gain some momentum rather than just getting buried by the big publishers.
Wow. So it sounds like your two publishing experiences were similar to your two professor experiences.
Pretty much.
When you titled the book Josh's Wall, does wall have a double meaning to it?
Yeah, I got the title from the old hymn, Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. There are several metaphors or symbols in the book. In his bedroom, he's got a wall with pictures that he doesn't recognize because he's lost his memory. And what's really fascinating, or what really perplexes him, is there's a Reese's peanut butter wrapper tacked to the wall that he has no idea, and that turns out to be the big answer to everything that's going on at the end of the book.
Well, you just sold the book. I just went on Amazon and ordered it for my Kindle.
Oh, thank you.
So I will have to look and see if it did it. Well, this is fascinating. You know what I love about this? It seems like we have similar experiences, but I never joined the service. I want to ask you about that. How did you end up joining the Air Force?
Oh, I got married very young. I was 18. My wife was 20. Things weren't going well. We had a baby, and then she left me one day.
Oh.
And after a couple of days of remorse and feeling sorry for myself, I went and signed up for the Air Force. Same day I signed up, she called, said she wanted to come back. I said, well, yeah, but I'm leaving for boot camp in a couple of weeks. After boot camp, I'll come home and get you if you want.
And did you get back together?
Yes, we did. We were together for well over 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Congratulations.
Are you still married?
No.
Oh, am I treading on unwelcome territory?
No, actually part of it was when I went to write another novel. We were living on a sailboat in San Pedro, and I don't think she really enjoyed living on the sailboat, and she just picked up and left one day.
Oh, gosh.
So tell me about going to the adults-only section of the library. I'll share my story. My story was this: it was always the artsy pictures, the artsy black and white pictures, and it was like, this isn't really what I'm looking for. I really want what's behind the counter at the drugstore.
Yeah.
But this was as close as I could get without anybody getting mad at me.
Well, Josh, what happened with him is in class, a boy named Larry started arguing with
a guy named Larry, figures.
Of course.
Christopher Columbus. Well, started arguing with the teacher about Christopher Columbus, saying that everything in the book was a lie. And Josh went up to the teacher after the session and asked the teacher about it. And he said he had to teach what was on his agenda for Josh to go to the library if he wanted to learn more. And he gets to the librarian won't take him to that section because he's too young for it. So he finds someone on the street to take him in.
Oh, man.
And to be his parent, and he gets into the section, and he's just blown away by what he reads as compared to what he was taught in school. Up to that point, his textbooks in school were like his Bible.
Yeah.
And it starts another thread throughout the story.
Wow. I've heard of moon landing deniers. I've never heard of a Columbus denier.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are plenty of them. Well, this has been a great conversation, Cliff. Thank you for getting up early to talk to us about you, or your book and your life. The book, again, is called Josh's Wall, based on true life events. I'm looking forward to reading it myself. And I found that on Amazon. How else can we get it? And do you have a website?
Yes, you can go to my website, cliffashpaugh.com. And I got a link to it. I also have a book trailer that I think you might enjoy. And SpoutHillPress.com, my publisher, they also have links.
Okay. And just so you know, Cliff's website is already on the WOCA website. If you go to the guest list for this program, AML Cal Live, you'll find that Robin already put your information there, Cliff. CliffAshpaugh.com is spelled out, so you don't have to worry about misspelling it or stopping the car right now. Most people are driving as they listen to us, Cliff. Thank you for being on the air with us. Have a great 4th of July, and I hope you write some more and come back.
Oh, I hope you have a great 4th of July, too, and I've got a couple other novels in the making. Shouldn't be too long.
All right, excellent. What a wonderful conversation. I'm looking forward to reading the book. Thank you, Cliff.
Oh, thank you very much, Larry.
All right, we'll take a little break, and we'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. A day after the Supreme Court's